please, bartender, pour me something strong. And I'm somewhere sunny and 75.
Well, from our studios in the famous Music Row area, this is On the Record. I'm Suzanne Alexander, and our guest, boy, he has been making music for 25 plus years. He is a multi-Grammy Award nominee and a multi-platinum selling artist. We are so happy to have Joe Nichols in the studio. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Congratulations on your new show.
Thank you. Thanks for making the time to come by.
Absolutely.
You know, listen, right from the get-go with your music, you debuted in 2002. Like everybody else, I was like, whoa. Who is this guy? I've got to know more about him. I've got to hear his music. Everybody wanted to know everything about you. It didn't start there for you, though. It started long before we started hearing you. You were making records, you were singing, you were recording. Talk about a little timeline as to how you came to music.
Well, I've been a person all the way since 1976. That's when it all started.
It changed in 1996, didn't it?
Yeah. I was a DJ in high school. I started singing in front of people when I was maybe 15 or 16 years old.
Was music in the family? Was it natural for you to kind of make that?
Yeah. My father, my uncles, my grandfather, everybody played guitar. My dad played in what he called beer joints. I'm sure a lot of people remember those terms like that. Honky tonks, sometimes VFW clubs. And he would take me along to some of those places too, as a little 7 or 8 year old kid that saw way too many things for that age. But it was fun. I got to see him play music, and I always knew that I wanted to be one of two things, either a baseball player or a musician after watching him.
I knew that you had a love of sports, but it was because of what music, the artist that your dad was playing, because was it a classic, traditional stuff that he loved, and that's how you kind of find your way to that?
Yeah, well, the style of music that I love, the traditional stuff definitely comes from him. He's a big Marty Robbins fan, a big Merle Haggard fan, and Willie Nelson, and he's big into that. But I chose music over baseball because of the money and girls. But hey, now I see the baseball contracts, and I'm like, what was I thinking?
And the money and the girls,
and the money and the girls. What a terrible choice. Yeah.
So making music and finding your way to Nashville. I mean, what was there's always that moment that I think an artist can define in their career that says, wow, this was my defining moment of really kind of getting the attention of Nashville.
Boy, I think when that first album came out and we started having things like Grammy nominations and award things pop up. I remember hearing my song, The Impossible, for the first time on the radio when we were over here on Music Row at the Starstruck building. Just all the stuff that all happened at one time, really, in 2002. First time playing in the Grand Ole Opry. All those things kind of happened, like I said, on top of each other. And that was really one of those, at that time, I thought, man, I think we've got something here. Even if it ended, in another year or so, we still got a lot of really special things happening. If I look back on it, the most important moment, though, for me was fast forward or rewind about 5 years to maybe 1998, 1999. It was 99, so 3 years. I remember sitting in a little truck stop up in Millersville, Tennessee, off I-65. Me and my best friend Brian, who also played guitar for me, we're sitting there after maybe 35 meetings that we've had, trying to get in front of publishers, trying to get in front of agents, managers, record labels, anybody that could, have us visit their office and play for them. 31, that was it, 31 times. And it was depressing to sit and count all the people that told us no. And we wrote them down on a napkin, right there at a truck stop napkin, like, that guy said no, that guy said no. And like I said, at the end of the lunch, it was 31 times, and that was a depressing day. It was a defining day. And we were like, I'm not gonna ever let this happen again. We got somebody, sure, likes country music or likes my version of it anyway, and still got that napkin. Still got that napkin framed. But that was a defining moment.
Absolutely.
Rock bottom moment.
But was there a song that clinched the deal with Universal? Was there a song that, was it Impossible?
Well, I'll tell you how that meeting went. I met with Tony Brown, who was at MCA at the time, produced George Strait and was running MCA, and finally got in the door there. Brent Rowan, who was my producer, phenomenal human being. He walked me into Tony Brown's office, and me and Brian, a guitar player, and Tony said, all right, give me a couple songs. And I did 2 of the songs off Man with a Memory there, and then I did Farewell Party acoustically. And he said, I'm going to send you to my buddy Tim Dubois, and I'm gonna have him. You do the same thing over at his office that you just did here. And he said, and he'll tell you why. And I met with Tim Dubois, and he said, Mister, you have 3 chances to get this right. And he said, I always tell everybody you have 3 songs to play and get it right. I mean, if you feel like you haven't done enough, you can have a 4th, but most people cut their losses. And I'm like, no pressure. All right, here we go. So it was me and Brian. We played, like I said, a couple songs off that Man with the Memory album, and then we played Farewell Party, and he goes, I believe I've heard enough. And he said, and he told me that they were, starting a label together, and it's Universal, and later called Universal South. So that was when it happened for me. I was pretty excited at the opportunity to play music and be on a label with some of the biggest names in Nashville.
Tony Brown and Tim Dubois right now looking at that going, that was a good Tim. I think that was good.
Hey. Now, thank you guys. If you're going to watch this, hey, thank you guys for launching me. That's right.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw some names out. Torchbearer, neo-traditionalist. Was it heavy on your shoulders at the time to hear that? Did you feel, because I felt like a lot of us on the other side of the industry were saying, this is a guy that's going to carry the torch for traditional country music. Did you feel that responsibility? Did you feel any pressure, or were you just doing your thing?
Yeah, I think my ego leaned into that stuff. I think back then, a young kid, excuse me, pardon me for the coffee. I had a really good album, that I felt really good about the music we made, and I knew it was getting a lot of attention. And when I heard people say things like that, I think it fed part of my ego, like, yeah, dang right, yeah, of course. But I mean, I look back on it now, what a naive kid. I wish I could shake him, and just say, hey, be appreciative of everything. And you're not the savior of anything. You're just a guy that happens to fit the time. You're making good records, and keep making good records, and don't worry about any of the other stuff. So I think sometimes, most of the time, for me, ego is the biggest hurdle, and I think some of those, tags like that kind of fed into that little egotistical part of me,
Well, I think, too, it was the industry. And I think a lot of times country music, especially as a genre, right, is looking to put people into a box. This is where you're going to go. This is where you're going to fit. But I think also the songs that you were delivering, as you said, Gene Watson's Farewell Party, the songs up until your album 3, you were very serious. They really had a foothold in that traditional sound. I'm going to talk more about that. Stay with us. More with Joe Nichols when we come back here on The Record. This is On the Record. I'm Suzanne Alexander with Joe Nichols. And, before the break, we were talking about the fact that I think a lot of us were looking for that traditional artist and kind of putting that pressure on you. One of my absolute favorite albums ever in music is your album Revelation. Thank you. So good. The songs you were recording, you mentioned the story that it was one of the songs, your cover of Gene Watson, that kind of secured the deal for you. You cover one of my absolute favorites by Iris DeMent on that No Time to Cry.
Yeah.
Oh boy, when you say, I have goosebumps right now just thinking about your version of that. That was a big album. It was a heavy album. Yeah. Talk about that and what that album, was it where you were at that point in your life?
That's exactly where I was. My father died the very week we put out the Man with a Memory, my very first album. And I remember thinking, what a bittersweet time this was. My biggest moment, have an album release. I was on the Grand Ole Opry that week, and he passed away, and it just kind of hit, everything hit like a ton of bricks. So that album was something we were kind of starting to construct, and I went through a depression that lasted, a couple of years, I think. But all those songs, there's a lot of God in there. There's a lot of sadness, a lot of heartbreak, and there's not a lot of playfulness. What's a guy got to do? Maybe a little bit, and Don't Remember for the Rest of Us is another song in there to kind of have a little humor. But it was just a very deep, dark, heavy time for me right then. I had to have a lot of God and a lot of heaviness. There's a lot of sadness, and that album to me is one of my favorites, just because I think more than anything, if ever I could put my soul onto a record and say, like it or not, this is, could be a 99-cent album, that's still me. That's my heart right there.
I can't imagine the difficulty, and you've spoken about this and where you were and the trouble that you got into yourself, that, through addiction, and you've been very open about that. I cannot imagine having that, and it's just nonstop, song after song, and really not having the time to grieve. A lot of us turn to music for healing, and it seems like that was your path as well in trying to pull you out of this such a heartbreak and a darkness.
Yeah, and fame and money will kind of give you a longer leash, with addiction. You know, you can be a little out of control for a lot longer, you know, when you have a little bit of money and everybody's afraid to tell you no, and you know, you got some fame, so people are kind of expecting you to be a little crazy. And so that's what happened. You know, the train got off the tracks and nobody really could do anything about it, and I wouldn't do anything about it. So, you know, I know it's the same old story with a lot of artists, a lot of people that struggle with addiction. It's kind of the same thing, but the music I made, you know, I remember making the Christmas album around the same time as I made Revelation. And anybody that has my Christmas album can probably hear this, but I cried through the whole thing. I mean, I'm singing songs about Christmas. They're supposed to be cheerful and joyful, and I'm not. It's almost like I cry through the entire album, you know. And I was crying. I was like away in a manger, and I would be bawling.
Oh my God.
And Brent Rowan again,
Yes.
who's producing, he's like, "Hey man, these are spiritual songs. You're in a place. A lot of the stuff feels imbalanced to you." And he said, "I just want to let you know we're making a really good record, so you know, don't worry about that part." But you know, we made a pretty good Christmas album, and we made a good album. That Revelation album was pretty good, but at the same time, you know, it was ripping my guts to pieces. And like I said, it got out of whack, and then nobody could do anything about it. Runaway Train.
How'd you change the path, the trajectory of where you were headed?
A couple of things. You know, it didn't happen all at once.
Right.
You know, of course, it happened several times over several years. But I'll tell you what, a lot of stuff happened when I got married in 2007. You know, nothing was overnight fixed. But had she not come into my life, come back into my life, you know, had we not, you know, gotten back together and then got married, I wouldn't be here today. That's for absolute sure. Because she became a part of my life that, you know, an accountability in my life that I didn't have before. You know, she's brutally honest, and she wasn't going to put up with it.
Well, there's a song on your new album, Good Day for Living. It's called Home Run, and I feel like that kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, that kind of encapsulates where you are. This is a Joe Nichols today. Just so grateful, so appreciative. You're in such a great spot. You often refer to your wife, Heather, as the love of your life. I'm going to talk more about that. And we're going to play the video for Good Day for Living as well. Stay with us. A lot more when we come back here for On the Record.
Little place is a little bit understated, yeah, the OJ's always concentrated. AC's broke, so we gotta sleep naked. It's a good day for living.
Boy, what a great song, Good Day for Living. That is the latest and the title of Joe Nichols' latest project. We're here, of course, on the record, hanging out on the studios of the famous Music Row area. Boy, that is such a great song and such a great video as well.
Thank you.
I can imagine, and for people who may not know at home, you get a lot of treatments, right? Things that are sent to you. To decide on that one, obviously, I know, like I said, your personality, you've got an incredible sense of humor. Just a lot of fun with that?
Well, yeah, first of all, they asked me if I'm into that idea, and I said, how much time would I actually spend filming? And there's like zero. I'm like, sold. Don't care storyline, don't care. I am in. And can you put some abs on me? And so they did both of those things. The greatest video I think we've ever done.
Well, it is hilarious. It is just a lot of fun, and it's fun to watch. It definitely hooks you in. You know, you've, throughout your career, and a lot of artists, they don't typically stay on one label. And I've watched you change. You went Universal, and you were on Red Bow under Broken Bow. Benny Brown is a guy that started that label. He left that label, started up another one. You've been with him, and he seems to be a guy that believes in you. And boom, you have these hits after hit after hit, teaming up with him. Talk about the relationship between you guys, the camaraderie, the collaborative.
Well, you know, when he first signed me at Red Bow, he wanted a country guy. You know, I was always in the Merle Haggard fan club. You know, I love Merle Haggard. You know, he's my biggest influence, and Benny knew Merle very, very well out there in California. And when I was looking for a new home after Show Dog, I was on Show Dog for a while there. We met with Benny, and we kind of shared a very strong bond over Merle and what we thought good country music was. And he's believed in me ever since then, you know, and he's always felt like, you know, I had something to offer country music, and he was willing to put it out there, and it gave me confidence going to the studio to make, you know, Sunny in 75. You know, that was a song that I didn't want to cut at all. I was like, this sounds nothing like me. And he's like, I think you can make this work. And of course, we went in the studio and played with it a little while, and all of a sudden we have a big old hit. And so we just have this trust, you know, between he and I, you know, musically, we share a bond, and he's been like a father figure to me for a long time since I've known him. That'd be like 11, 12 years now. So he's a great human being, a really great human being. He's based in, faith. We share that as well, and he's just always believed in me, and he's always been in my corner. And boy, it sure has been amazing having somebody like that root for you.
Can we play the video in its entirety? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Good day for living. Here's Joe Nichols.
Look, check out my abs.
Little place is a little bit understated. Yeah, the OJ's always concentrated. AC's broke, so we gotta sleep naked. It's a good day for living. Swear all my jeans got holes in the pocket. Yeah, the money falls out as soon as I start walking. Good thing the sunshine don't cost nothing. It's a good day for living. Living it up, living it right. Living each day one day at a time. Ain't making no worry no bigger than it is when it isn't. Yeah, I'm thinking I wanna wake up and do it for the love. Glass that full, wanna fill the rest up. Gonna take a sweet sip of whatever life's fixing. It's a good day for living. Got a cool tattoo of Rosie the Riveter. If there's a good time, good chance she's in it first. Any day that I get to kissing her's a good day for living. We sneak into a motel pool at 4 a.m. and every time she smiles I say amen. One hell of a good staycation. It's a good day for living. Living it up, living it right. Living each day one day at a time. Ain't making no worry no bigger than it is when it isn't. Yeah, I'm thinking I wanna wake up and do it for the love. Glass that full, wanna fill the rest up. Gonna take a sweet sip of whatever life's fixing. It's a good day for living. It's a wild ride, but we all got a ticket. Yeah, it goes by quick. If you blink, you'll miss it. Tomorrow's always short on specifics, but it's a good day for living. Living it up, living it right. Living each day one day at a time. Ain't making no worry no bigger than it is when it isn't. Yeah, I'm thinking I wanna wake up and do it for the love. Glass that full, wanna fill the rest up. Gonna take a sweet sip of whatever life's fixing. It's a good day for living. Yeah, it's a good day. Good day for living. Oh, it's a good day for living.
This is a song really that points and really emphasizes the fact that it's the little things in life. This is really what matters. A little while ago, you were talking about your wife, Heather, and really being there for you. You guys got married in 2007.
Yeah.
I know you guys knew each other when you were teenagers, right?
Oh, yeah. I met her. People ask us, where we met, and I tell people we met at a bar. She doesn't like that at all. But her dad owned a honky tonk there in East Texas called the Rio Palm Isle, big old honky tonk. And she was in visiting her freshman year of college, and I was playing 5-6 hours a night, 6 nights a week there at her dad's club. And he said, you got to come in and see this young guy, real young guy, playing old school stuff. And she came in, and we became friends. She didn't want to have nothing much to do with me because she had a boyfriend. But I tried, and I was like, can you dance with me? He won't care. But she's like, nah, I'm a good person. So, but we became friends, and eventually she became single and I became single, and
it worked out.
We were best friends for a long time,
Well, I contacted your wife, Heather, to ask for a little quote about this man right here.
Oh, God.
And she said that you used to sing this song by Charlie Pride. I'm not going to mention the song because I know it's private. You guys probably want to keep that to yourselves. It's a beautiful song. It talks about being devoted to love. You were about 19, 20 years old, she said, when you sang the song to her. You finally recorded it, gave it to her on your one-year anniversary. And she said, I feel like he has kept that promise to me all these years. She says, as a father, he amazes me. He will help coach his daughter's softball games, fly out to a show in the same day, or fly all night so he can make the morning game. He is our rock. He is the most amazing man, becoming a better man each day as we live.
You made me cry. That's awesome. Well, thank you. I'm sure she meant probably 60% of that.
He's always joking. I mean, that's something. It seems like the two of you really have each other's back, and I know she's just your biggest fan. At
the end of the day, I'll tell you what, you know, you only know a couple of people like that in your entire life, you know, and she's that person. She's seen the ugly, you know, she's seen the good, and she's seen the ugly. As I like to say, she's seen my guts, you know, so it's, you know, she's done a lot for me, more than any other human on this earth, besides my mama having me, of course. But she's been there and seen some ugly stuff. She's seen the worst side of me and the best side of me, and we're still married. And that's a miracle. I know a lot of people when we got married that were probably at my wedding that were probably very supportive, that were like, this will never last 6 months. He's crazy. Clearly, he's crazy. And she seems well put together. She seems like a really sane, beautiful person. He's nuts. And so I know a lot of people were like, 6 months tops. That'll be done in 6 months, maybe a year. And here we are almost 16 years later, still married. And I know a lot of them are divorced. Right. How great to prove them all wrong. Yeah. Isn't that awesome? I still think it's pretty unbelievable, because I knew deep down in my heart, and I've said this to many of my close friends, after I met her, Heather, back in winter of 95, when I met her, I said, I'll only marry one woman in my life. I'll never be a married man unless it's her. Really? You know, because I just knew kind of what kind of person I am, and there was no cooling down. It was just going to be wide open until one day I'd kick the bucket. But if there's anybody in the world that could get this guy to not be that way, it's her, and I will marry her and her only. And that is beautiful. Now you're going to make me cry. What it's like being a father. I'm thankful God gave me girls. They've taught me patience. They've taught me to not be so emotional, you know, because they're going to need that steady hand. They just taught me how to be a quieter, stronger dad. Joe Nichols, man, what a great time having you here. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. We're already done. We're already done, right? We're just getting started with the funny stuff. We didn't do anything funny yet. Oh, man. It's all funny. It's Joe Nichols, one of the best in the business, and so happy to have you here. Thank you guys for tuning in. And, of course, good day for living. You can find it wherever you stream your music, and look for this man out on the road. Joe Nichols, a pleasure. Thank you for watching On the Record.